and welcome to my channel. I'm Z. Come on with me. Today I am going to do a review of Married at First Sight. Season 14 is going to kind of be a combo of episodes 11 and 12. We'll start with Steve and Noi. Steve and Noi seem to have a basic mismatch where it regards finances and how they view finances and how they view Steve's ability to attain and then maintain a job. At one point, there was a scene where they were celebrating their, I think, the 1 month anniversary, and they did a boat ride on the Boston Harbor. And I thought that was really cute scene. While Noi is focusing on her food, Steve was pointing out different locations that were historical and that had a direct relationship to the American Revolution. And while I was watching that scene, I thought, there's a job that Steve can get. I wonder if Noi was thinking the same. But they talk a little bit, and of course it comes back to the whole job situation where they agree that they both get along, but they still have something that they need to iron out. They don't fully go into it, that particular scene, but as you move along throughout the season, they address some issues they're having in the relationship. Steve points out that he feels like he does the majority of the housework and wants to see Noi pitching in more. During one of those conversations, Noi kindly informs him that he can kiss her ass. Noi is getting fed up with Steve's non-working ways and can't see herself working while he's laying around the house and enjoying his leisure time. And they also discuss the possibility of moving in together after the filming stops. And Noi was very much against it. She brings up the idea that a married couple living apart is becoming more common and suggests that that might be the way that they want to go after filming ends. And she also, Steve thinks that's ridiculous. Isn't the whole point of this to eventually move in together? I mean, we are, after all, a married couple. And Noi maintains that they could be a married couple living apart and that she wasn't comfortable moving in with him. What I got from that is that Noi is on strike until Steve gets a job. I'm sorry. Steve, sir. I mean, so I will give him that he finally seems to indicate that he has substantial savings. He tells this to the cameras, and he also has a conversation with Mark. I'm just wondering if this has been discussed with Noi. My issue here is I'm not one who thinks that there needs to be, that he has to have a regular 9 to 5. I just don't know that he's done a good enough job of assuaging Noi's fears, and I feel like he could do that without getting a job, but he's trying to make it seem like that's all Noi really wants. I think what Noi really wants is showing that he is going to be capable of providing for a family. There seems to be a lot of attention paid to the whole having a job thing, but I really think that's what the job represents, is security. And if Steve speaks to her sense of needing security, I feel like a lot of their issues would go away. But I don't feel like he's trying to do that. I get the impression that Steve is playing a game. Sometimes guys like to test to see if a woman will really be into them regardless of money. They want to know that a woman will be into them regardless of how much money they might have in their bank accounts or whatever. And I think sometimes some guys do things in such a way where they test for that and it causes problems. And I feel like that's what's happening here, because I feel like if Steve can tell this to the cameras, if Steve can tell this to Mark, why is this not being relayed to the woman you're married to? And even if you wind up telling her, I have substantial savings, what substantial savings to a bachelor, to a man who only has to support himself, might not be what substantial savings looks like to a woman who is thinking about having a family, a woman who already is thinking she wants 3 children and wants to feel secure that the person that she's married to will be able to help her support that. I don't think that's unreasonable. I also don't think it's unreasonable to share chores or negotiate, housework. I think what is unreasonable is a lack of communication and a lack of honest communication. A lack of communication coming out of both of them to some degree, because Noi, I do think, communicates what she wants, but she sometimes does so in a bratty way, out of anger, out of defensiveness, as opposed to just being like direct. And with Steve, I feel like his communication is dishonest in that he tries to put propositions out there that he doesn't really hold dear, hold as actual things that he desires, so much as putting out ideas that are intended to see if he can change his wife's mind. And I don't think that is coming from a place of integrity. And I feel like he is possibly withholding information as a means of testing his wife. And I could be wrong. I don't know what conversations take place off camera, but that's the impression I'm getting. So I had to get my Amazon delivery. I be forgetting I be ordering stuff off there. Be having all kinds of stuff coming to my doorstep. Okay. It doesn't matter whether he's rich or poor. I feel like his refusal to address her concerns, especially since he's aware of them, aware that she is a child of immigrants, a child that once lived, or an adult, but who had a childhood that included living in a refugee camp, and how important security is to her. If his continual refusal to address that concern and to care, that's not the type of person that you want to have that in your life, and she should walk on. I think she would be fine knowing he didn't have a job if he did try to show how he would go about creating an income to sustain a family. If he had a plan, like if they talked and he seemed to have a plan, I think that would be enough for her. But I feel like he is not even making any effort to address that concern of hers, that valid concern of hers. And some might think him saying, oh, I'm confident in my ability to make extra money, that's addressing it. I don't think it is. I think he needs to be a little more concrete. So if they can do that, I can't say they'll be golden, because there's always going to be issues in any relationship, but I think they would have a good chance of making it. But we'll see. Jasmina and Michael. So we get to see Jasmina and Michael growing closer. This is a couple that I'm pretty hopeful for. I really like them both, although Jasmina was starting to get on my nerves. I'm like, sis, I was rooting for you, but I'm rooting for her again. She seems to be making more of an effort to drop some of her walls down and to listen to Michael and to let him in more and to move past their initial hiccups, because I think that some of the issues that they were having was a result of her truly not getting past their initial hiccup and holding that against him. So they had a cute date that Michael had put together where they, in order to celebrate their 1 month anniversary, he took them to where they got their vows, where they originally got married. And so they had dinner and renewed their vows. I keep feel in my head, I sound like I'm saying vowels. I'm trying to say vows. 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 They renewed their vows. It still sounds like I'm saying vowels. Like AEIOU. Sometimes. Anyway. Vows. VOWS. So I thought that was a cute scene because in it, Jasmina said something to the effect of, I promise to make an effort to fight for you rather than with you, or something like that. But I thought that was a nice step forward, and partial recognition that she was being stubborn and that she needed to make more of an effort to see him less as an adversary, and more as a partner. So becoming more hopeful. There was some other scenes with them where, and that scene was especially salient because it was after they actually get to know one another. And so whereas before they're saying their vows, it's the stranger, kind of hopeful thing, but now there's more intention there because you actually know the person that you are talking to, and I think that puts a little more feeling behind with the words that are being said. So she's definitely opening up, and Michael is putting his best foot forward and really making an effort, and I really admire that about him. I think that if they don't work out, I think he's gonna have plenty of women up in his DMs because he looks like a guy who's actually trying, and he's thoughtful, and he does listen, and seems to be teachable and willing to correct himself, and that is a very, it's a good quality. We'll just say that those are good qualities. So the ability and willingness to self-correct, that is an attractive quality. So apparently Jasmina doesn't know how to drive, and so to encourage that for selfish reasons, because he was like, well, that means I'm gonna be the one who has to do all the errands, run all the errands or whatnot. But he goes to make an effort to teach her how to drive, and volunteers to give her a driver's test, practice driver's test. And that was a really cute scene. He's like reading off some questions, waiting for her answers. And one of the questions was, what do you do if another driver cuts you off? And she says, flick him the bird or something like that. And he's like, funny, for real. Get serious about this. You need to learn how to drive. I ain't gonna be the only one giving groceries. He doesn't say all that, but anyway, she's like, oh, honk. And he was like, no, that's also incorrect. She was like, wait, what? I can't beat him. It was just so funny because it's just like she looked seriously confused. Like, I can't honk. Like, what is the horn for then? I don't understand. For those of you who might be wondering, it's ignore. The answer is ignore. Ignore it. But I just thought it was a really cute scene because it shows some of her personality. It shows them interacting, and it shows Michael's. Do I have it right? Yeah, Michael's willingness to help her and teach her something that she doesn't know, and it's something that will be beneficial for them as a pair, and individually, but also as a pair, as a couple. And I just think it's cute. I think what the work that they're doing is putting them on a path to having a fruitful relationship. One thing that Jasmina seems to kind of still be stuck on is not necessarily finding him sexually attractive. And she said, he's good looking objectively, but she still, I guess, doesn't have enough of an emotional connection to him yet to want to get physical. I just hope that she does not allow that to be too much of a block, because just because they're technically married, I hope she doesn't put too much pressure on herself to get there, and just continues to do this work and build their foundation, because if she doesn't get too much in her head about that, and same for Mike too, I think that they will both have a really good chance at making it. And so we'll see how things go along. I believe in you. I'm rooting for you. Okay, Katina and Elijah Wan. I'm not gonna lie, I fast forward through some of their stuff. I have to take breaks. I use their segments to take breaks, get up, get some water, go to the restroom. I'm judgmental, right? That's why I'm doing this review. Okay, that's why I'm doing any type of review, because I'm making judgments. Okay, and I want better for Katina, but it's starting to feel like a Paige situation here, where it's like Paige situation where after some time, I can understand putting in effort because you have agreed to be a part of this process, but at some point, you gotta not be ditzy, you gotta not be stupid, you gotta stand your ground and not allow yourself to be a doormat. And I feel like I'm getting frustrated, like watching Katina capitulate and give into this man's tantrums and blatant disrespect and disregard for her. I'm over Isaac or Elijah, whatever that man's name is. I really just don't care. I'm over him projecting his past behaviors onto her. I'm just becoming over them. And I want to address what really upsets me. So, okay, there was a scene where they are all at dinner together, group dinner, and everyone's having a good time, whatever. And then, you know how a lot of times when they have group scenes, they go around and each person kind of shares something, whatever the topic might be, about this process, right? And they get to them, and Elijah Wan just all of a sudden like turns really negative. Really just puts Katina on blast by alluding to not really knowing if she is here for the right reasons, and everyone's confused, including his wife, as to what he's talking about. And he just I'm just over this guy. He got upset with her because he saw that on her phone she still had an app, some dating app on her phone, and she was like, oh, I didn't even know that was on my phone. I don't use it, I'm not signed on to it. Like it's just one of those apps that's on my phone that is inactive. I don't have an account on it, whatever. And he just keeps doubling down and, making it about, oh, you're not serious, you shouldn't have that on your phone, you're married, as a married woman you should be like X, you should do X, Y, Z, blah blah. And I think it's exhausting. Oh, but what I really want to examine is that the behavior that he displayed here, and that he has displayed before, is something that Katina herself, and I feel a lot of women in general, need to stop allowing. Stop trying to work with, stop pussyfooting around a man who is getting aggressive with you. Whether it's physical or in speech, a man getting aggressive with you is red alert. It's red alert. No one's perfect. We might all have like one-off situations, but this is becoming a pattern. And the way that he becomes aggressive is over small perceived slights. He's popping off over seemingly any and everything. He's finding a reason to make you wrong. And he keeps finding reasons to make her wrong. Stop ignoring that. Stop allowing it. Stop aiding and abetting it. Okay? This is to Katina and to any other lady out there. And I think what I'm saying is especially true, and it's for a situation where there aren't children involved. I think in relationships where children are involved, you can't necessarily make blanket statements because there are other factors at play. I don't care what reason he gives. If he does not approach the subject with calm or with decorum, he's setting you up, and you are setting yourself up to constantly be berated, disrespected, and who knows what else. Don't keep overlooking bad behavior because you want some man's approval, or because you think that he has a pretty face, And so, you're willing to put up with a little extra sauce, or, you need to have some self-respect. And with the way things are going right now, the way that I foresee things going, if Katina stays with him, which she probably will, is that she's going to end up isolated. She's going to lose herself and become, so it's going to become all about how can I please him, and she's going to be mentally beat down. Best of luck to sis. I hope someone is able to talk some sense into her. I hope she figures out she deserves better. I can also hope that Isaac gets therapy and really starts to take stock of some of his behaviors and actually changes it. Not just, he likes to talk, he talks a lot. I hope he actually works on himself and not just, talking the talk, but actually walks the walk. The way things are now, I think he's going to continually try to find things to be pissed about, to keep her on her toes, and to keep her on must please him mode. A mode of, oh, gotta keep him happy so he doesn't pop off. And finally, we have Mark and Lindsay. So Mark has lost his job. Apparently his job has told him, I guess his job is not friendly to his filming schedule. And so he's been told that he can return after he's done filming, after he's completed filming. So he says he has to find a job, but Lindsay is like, for what? Just use this time, focus on building more foundation, focus on our relationship, and filming's gonna be over soon, so what's the rush? And yeah, it's I have to wonder the same, because I guess what I'm getting at is, he said that he made it seem like his job is not amenable or not friendly to the film crew, and that things will get back to normal once they're done filming. But the way that he seemed to be focusing on, or his concern with finding another job, suggests to me that he might have actually just lost his job without any caveats. I can be wrong, but the nervousness and anxiety he seemed to be showing, and if it's really true that with filming, I mean, it's only going to be, I think Lindsay said something like a week or something like that. So it's like, if I don't know, something wasn't adding up with that whole scene there. I'm sure things will be revealed as either the season goes on, or once filming completely stops and they're free to say more after whatever episodes, the rest of the episodes air. But something ain't clean in the buttermilk. Buttermilk. Anyway, they had some cute scenes together. Mark takes Lindsay to a wigwam for their anniversary, 1 month anniversary. He gets her some crystals as gifts. I think crystals or stones, different types of stones, or whatever, because different crystals or stones are supposed to have different qualities and characteristics and whatnot, and affect energy in different ways. So she really enjoyed that. So during another scene, so she really enjoyed that. At one point, she had brought up kids, and Mark seemed to push that down. He's like, oh, that's all the way down the line, that's no time soon or whatever. And he says something to the effect of, oh, that's a long way off. A long way off? They're both in their 30s. I think they're both about the same age, about 34. I might be off plus or minus a few years, but they're both solidly in their 30s. How much time is a long way off to you, Mark? See, this, Mark, sir, you don't have your life in order, in any type of order, and I still don't understand why he signed up for this. I mean, I do understand. I've gone over this in a previous episode. Yes, in a previous video. I understand in the sense that he might be looking for somebody to help him hold things together because he doesn't have things in order in his life. Things are a wreck. Things are a wreck. And him being solidly in his 30s, I'm sorry, looking like he's solidly in his 40s, he looks every bit of, honestly, he looks a smooth 45. Easy. So I just don't know. I don't know what this man has in mind. Yeah, I don't know how far off this fool is thinking. I don't think this fool is thinking much at all. And I don't I don't think he's thinking of kids as being a long way off because he does not have his stuff together. He came into this process and he does not have his stuff together. And in talking, anytime I see him in his interactions with Lindsay, it just seems to become more and more clear that he doesn't see it for her or see it with her, because as whack as his life is, he doesn't seem to display much willingness to compromise and kind of learn how to go with the flow. And he's very just boring and stuck in his ways. And for a man that does not have a job, has a whole bunch of life issues going on in the background, isn't that attractive. That's my opinion. I think Lindsay is fine with his attractiveness level, and that's all that really matters. But he looks really, really old and just in bad shape, considering that he is in his 30s. There is a scene where at one point Mark is complaining to Steve about Lindsay. I think it was to Mark or to Chris. He was complaining to somebody. And one of his complaints is that she says things over and over and over again. Basically, she nags, right? A lot of guys have that complaint about the women in their lives. But what they don't seem to acknowledge is if someone's got to nag, that means they feel a need to repeat themselves because they're not being heard. And so you fast forward to another scene, and Mark has destroyed some of Lindsay's clothes by putting them in the dryer. And in that scene, she made it clear, she's like, I've told you multiple times that certain things, like how to treat certain items of my clothing. He's like, oh, I forgot, I'm sorry, how many times do you want me to say I'm sorry? And to me, and like Lindsay was pissed. She was pissed. And I think a lot of people might look at that scene and be like, girl, get over it, it's just some clothes. But I would understand too. Like, I would be upset because if I say something and I say it multiple times because I feel like you're not getting it, and you brush me off, oh, I got it, or whatever, and you don't got it, oh, it's gonna be World War 3, 4, and 5. Lindsay's better than me. Lindsay is better than me. Yeah, I mean, she clearly has to say things over and over again because he does not listen. He doesn't listen. And yeah, that was just a great like example of how he doesn't listen and dismisses what she says. And Mark, honey, you too grow for all that. You too grow for all that. You just you don't get those graces. And the crazy thing is, Lindsay will be more than willing to let him slide. We'll get to that later. So no, we'll get to it now. Actually, Lindsay was more than willing to forgive Mark of all of his flaws if he just gives her the D on a regular basis. And well, right? All he got to do is dig her down. That's his only job. I mean, he could be forgiven any and everything if he just keeps her happy in the boudoir. But because Mark doesn't see it for her, I guess he's not really very keen on pleasing her in that way. And even if, I mean, we don't know the inner workings, right? It could also be like it could also be that he is sleeping with her, but he's not getting the job done well on a consistent basis. Either way, he needs to, tighten up. Tighten up. I mean, I know Steve is looking at him like, baby, what? That's all. That's all you got to do. You don't even have to have a job, and she'll stay off your ass. Like, all he has to do is keep Lindsay sexually satisfied. Okay, that's it. I mean, she'll forgive him all his sins, including the sin of being a chicken fingers guy. A chicken fingers guy. So apparently what a chicken fingers guy is someone who does not have a refined palate. Someone who has a very basic and boring palate. Steve does not know what half of the veggies at the store are called. Okay? Like vegetables are foreign objects to him. They must. He apparently only eats like meat and potatoes and chicken fingers and just very bland, basic foods and bacon, right? And so, yeah, I it's weird because honestly, at the beginning of the season, when it came to this couple, I was pretty sure that Lindsay was the full-on cuckoo bird and feeling really sorry for Steve. Feeling really sorry for Mark because he seemed to be coming from a background of caregiving, caring for his mom, and blah blah blah. But then, as this season has gone on, I'm starting to see that I'm starting to see how he is flawed, and he's got some big flaws, and his flaws are in many ways overshadowed by Lindsay because she's such a big personality. And I have gotten the impression that one of her flaws is a major one, which is could potentially be alcoholism. She seems to move like an alcoholic. I'm not speaking as if it's a fact. I'm speaking based on my opinion. And but yeah, these two, I don't think either of these two should be in any type of relationship. I think Lindsay, she puts forth a great effort in a relationship, but I think based on her potential alcoholism, that might be something she might need to handle before she gets into a relationship. But if that thing is handled, even with her kind of being less refined than average, I think somebody will be able to work with that. I think she's got enough other great qualities that excuse me, someone would be able to rock with other characteristics that might not be so pleasant. But if you've got some type of addiction, I'm not one that thinks that anyone with an addiction should go into a relationship. I think that if a person kind of develops an addiction within a relationship, hey, things happen. But having an addiction and going into a relationship and asking someone to take that on, I don't know if I think that's right. I don't know the right answer, right? I haven't been in that situation myself, so it's easy to say. And also with the idea some people have that once an addict, always an addict, is that to mean that no one can ever have a relationship if they've been, if they've acted on their addiction in the past and they now have that under control. I don't think that's the case. I think if a person is able to get their addiction under control, that's a different story. But I don't know if that's the case here. I feel like that's the impression I'm getting. I'm sorry. Lindsay still gives me the impression of being an alcoholic, a functional one. I don't know. So in another scene, Mark and Lindsay are having another one of their more combative relationship discussions. And combative might be a strong word. Like, they're having a disagreement, and Lindsay goes to touch Mark, and he recoils, and it's like, don't touch me. And she takes offense to that, and she kind of walks out. And during that scene, part of what was supposed to be happening was that they were waiting for a photographer to come to do a family picture of them and their 5 cats. 5 cats. 5. That's a lot of cats. That's a lot of cats, I have to say. And especially being in an apartment and in like an enclosed space, and being in an enclosed space with cats that are coming from two different homes. So they're cats that have not been raised together, like as I guess siblings or housemates, however you want to put it. That's got to be tough. I wonder if because cats are territorial animals. So I at one time had 4 cats. Don't judge me, but um, we they were younger when they initially came into the household, were brought into the household, and I think the assumption was that they were brought in 2 different ways. So the assumption is that well, since they're kind of young, they'll be able to get along. But that they were even though they were still young, they weren't young enough that they ever that they were comfortable enough with each other to see one another as family, as being part of the same what do you call it, like, kennel litter. So if they're not from the same litter, and even cats from the same litter can have issues with one another, but by and large, like with humans, if you're raised together, there's just a different, or cats and dogs, if they're raised together, it's easier for them to kind of get along. And that wasn't the case. So there were 4 cats, but they came in, 2 of them had come from the same litter earlier, and then a few months later got 2 more, but they weren't from the same litter. And so it was the original cats from the same litter to sisters against the other 2 kittens. And by the time they were, I think, about a year old, I think. Is that right? I don't remember how old they were. I just know that they weren't like really small. They were small, but they weren't really small. You know, maybe they were about a year, but I don't remember. It might have been a little before a year. Anyhow, so there were 2 cats basically. Basically there was spraying that was happening. You know, they tried to spray their territory. The house smelled horrible. Trying to like constantly like clean up areas that they sprayed. They didn't want to. Oh, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Primarily the smell. We smelled like a cat house for far too long, and I would be nervous walking out the house because I'm like, I don't know. You know, once you get used to a certain smell, you don't smell it anymore. And so I didn't know if I was becoming like that. I didn't think I was, because I was very vigilant about if I, saw or smelled cat pee, I would, clean it up. But, after a time, it's like I started being concerned, like paranoid that what if I can't smell it anymore? What if I'm not, no longer able to detect when one of the cats has gone somewhere other than their litter box? Because like they would do territory things where like one would like, pee in another's litter box, and so that they wouldn't want to use that one anymore. It's just, it eventually got under control, but still. So when I think of them having 5 cats, and again 5 cats that were not raised together, I just think, oh, the smell that must be permeating through everything in that household. And they live in an apartment. It's just like, oh God, poor them. But anyway, I digressed a little bit. Sorry. The cats are cute. They all had like shark costumes on. Like the humans, like Lindsay and Mark, they had shark costumes on, and they had like little mini shark costumes for the cats. And I thought that was really cute. What I have to say about Mark and Lindsay is I see Lindsay still making an effort, which is admirable. But it seems pretty clear to me that Mark just doesn't see it for her. He seems to tolerate her. He doesn't seem to want to bend on much to make her happy. I mean, he has done some things. He has done some things, but I don't know how to describe the quality. Think of it's the difference between Mark and Michael, right? What Mark does seems to be more about placating Lindsay, whereas Michael seems to actually be trying to make an effort and put his best foot forward, because he seems to really care and want things to work. Whereas I feel like Mark's efforts are more to placate. Like I said, I mean, look at the Mark and Lindsay versus Steve and Noy, and I mean, Mark's got an easy job. Mark doesn't even need to have a real job. Like, I know Steve would kill to be in his position, but because Mark just doesn't see it for her, I don't think he's willing to put forth the necessary effort. A lot of men would be delighted to be in his position, but if he doesn't see it for her, he doesn't see it for her, and I mean that's just what it is, and that's that's okay. I mean, they, even though I think my initial prediction was that they were both going to say yes, and we still don't know because we haven't gotten to decision day. I do honestly think that the right answer is probably no for these two, because I don't think that either of them are at a place where they could be a good partner. And even with as much effort as Lindsay puts forth, like I said, my suspicion that she might have a drinking problem, and we've already seen, like, she can be a mean drunk. I mean, mean, honey. I just don't know. That's not relationship material. It just isn't. And if that's something she can get under control, then I would definitely say rock on. Wish the best for her. But Lindsay and Mark together and independently are hot messes that are best left continuing to work on themselves solo. Thanks for listening to me whine, and until next time.